recognize our investments in Vision Zero here in Kansas City, I'll note a few things. The Kansas City government for several years now has been committed to ensuring that our roads are safer for everyone, no matter how you get around, whether it's walking, driving, cycling, or any other form of transit through our city. We are proud of our investments here in Kansas City. And this fiscal year, and shout out to the people upstairs, good to see you. This fiscal year, the Kansas City budget has allocated more than $4 million for Vision Zero and safer street improvements. That's 8 times more than the previous fiscal year, 8 times more than the prior year, showing our strong commitment to making our roads, our sidewalks, and our trails safer in Kansas City. And so far in Kansas City, we have invested in 300 Vision Zero projects. They're completed or underway in all of our city council districts. And we also have more than 30 miles of protected mobility lanes, with more to come. Vision Zero is sometimes misunderstood, but very simply, Vision Zero was designed to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries on Kansas City streets by the year 2030, while also increasing safe, healthy, and equitable mobility for all. The improvements include traffic calming, leading pedestrian intervals, protected mobility lanes, speed humps, curb extensions, and more. Many of those safety enhancements you'll see right here in Brookside right now, including this very important intersection crossing here, which will help us make the people in this area and who visit this area safer. Here we've seen a 63rd Street and Brookside Boulevard. We've received enhanced sidewalks, curbs, diagonal parking, and more. I want to give credit certainly to our city staff and our council members. Jonathan Duncan is here today, as well as Andrea Boone and Mayor Pro Tem Emeritus Kevin McManus. The new street light and crosswalk behind me will protect hundreds of pedestrians, runners, bikers, and more each day. Across the parking lot behind me on Meyer Boulevard, you'll see more of our work in a pedestrian island and other barriers that are meant to calm traffic and to make it easier for all to safely cross the street and drive on Meyer. Our work, of course, is not limited to Brookside, it's not limited to 63rd Street, and it's not limited to one council district. Whether it is curb bumps at the crossroads, a mobility lane on Dillon, or simply the installation of 4-way stop signs in the Northland, we're working in all parts of the city to ensure a safer future for all. Last year in Kansas City, there were more than 100 traffic fatalities, 20 of which were pedestrians. 18 had a motorcycle involved, and far too many had folks who were not wearing seatbelts. We are seeing those numbers rise this year, and they creep closer to our homicide numbers each year. We recognize that accidental deaths are unacceptable, whether they be pedestrian or roadway fatalities, whether they be homicides in our city, fentanyl overdoses, or anything under the sun. Kansas City government is committed to making sure that people can be safe in our city, live long and healthy lives. Our investment in Vision Zero is one area that helps us do that. I also recognize that's why I've been proud to be selected to the Mayor's Institute on Pedestrian Safety. And on that, I want to give a shout out to Councilman Eric Bunch. Because when I first started on City Council a long time ago, I probably wasn't a guy where folks would have emailed me and said, hey, there's a Mayor's Institute of Pedestrian Safety. I don't know if I would have jumped up at it. But I think we have done so much work to learn how we need to get through this city safely. Vision Zero, protected mobility lanes, the work that we're doing isn't something that's a fad. It isn't something that's unique to a community. It isn't something that is actually just extraneous for local government. It's core to making sure that we, our families, and everyone here can be safe. Making sure that we see fewer accidental deaths on our streets is something that is vital for what we do. Thank you for helping bring me along the way. Thank you to our outstanding city staff. And with that, I turn it over to Councilman Eric Bunch of Kansas City's 4th City Council District.
My name is Eric Bunch, 4th District City Council person, and a longtime advocate of Vision Zero. And I'm going to take my sunglasses off and hope I don't squint too much. But, you know, I come here with mixed emotions because on one hand, we're celebrating $4 million of new investment this coming year in Vision Zero projects, while at the same time we are on pace for yet another record year for fatalities on our city streets. I think we are still at the phase where we're admitting that we have a problem. You know, that's the first step in healing and recovery. We have a problem. Now we really need to put our money where our mouth is, and that's what this $4 million is intended to do. Because I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'll disagree with the mayor just a little bit in calling them accidental deaths. These deaths that we experience on our city streets are not accidents. They are preventable, and that's at the heart of Vision Zero. That the decisions that we make as leaders, whether we're elected officials or you're running a city, have a direct impact on things like traffic safety. So over the course of the last 100 years, we have carved out our city to make way for the automobile and to make it easier for people to move throughout the city, or even worse, move out of the city. It's become easier to just simply flee from the city in your car as fast as possible through our historic, vibrant neighborhoods at the expense of the people who live there. This is traffic violence is something that disproportionately affects pedestrians who do not have the luxury of a steel cage wrapped around them. It disproportionately affects people of low wealth because they have less access to automobiles. It disproportionately affects people of color because of historic institutional racism. So we have to do better. We can still see the results of these decisions today, and it's continuing to get worse. So I'm going to leave with maybe a more positive note. I know that I presented some doom and gloom, but we have to get real. So I'm excited to have $4 million to work with, and I look forward to a really big project list that works to address the underlying problems of traffic violence by investing in improvements in our high entry network. We have the data that says where these crashes are occurring. We know what we can do. We have the tools because we're not the first city to do this. We have the tools at our disposal to make the changes necessary. It's time to actually do that. It's time to actually put our money where our mouth is and prevent unnecessary traffic violence and deaths. So thank you so much for coming out here to celebrate this. And with that, I'm going to introduce our Mayor Pro Tem, who was actually supposed to go before me because she's doing such amazing work in the 5th District and across the city. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilwoman Park Shaw.
Thank you, Councilman Bunch. I think actually it's only fitting that I actually follow you, given the fact that he actually has been a leader in the prior council and this council to ensure that we make this unprecedented investment. Unfortunately, in Kansas City's East Side, 3rd and 5th districts, Councilman Bunch and the mayor have actually already mentioned the unfortunate incidents that we have in our 3rd and 5th districts. I will tell you that the 5th district has 3 of the most dangerous, out of the top 5, 3 of the most dangerous intersections in Kansas City sit in my district, which is why I wanted to make sure I could be here today to help, first of all, celebrate this $4 million investment, but also encourage us to do more. I look at this as an initial step, but we have quite a ways to go. I want to thank the community members, Bike Walk KC, and the city staff, Public Works Department, our city manager, for all of their work and commitment thus far. But we'll ask them to continue to join us as we roll our sleeves up and get busy to make sure that we can prevent these preventable accidental deaths. With that, I believe I'm supposed to introduce 6th District Councilman Jonathan Duncan, who will speak next. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I know we've talked a lot about policy initiatives, and I want to highlight the fact that Councilman Bunch said it first. These aren't accidents. They're policy choices, right? And so we are making a policy choice and a policy investment to ensure that we're providing safer streets for our pedestrians, our people who aren't able to have cars. So we've talked a lot about that, but I think that because we're right here, where we've had a 63rd Street road diet here in Brookside, I want to talk about what it feels like, what safety feels like. Safety feels like being able to walk down this street and feel safe that you're not going to be hit by a car. Safety feels like being able to take the trolley trail from across 63rd Street and not turn around, which we see a lot of our folks doing. So I'm excited that we're going to have a safer feeling street. We have all of these Brookside shops up and down 63rd Street, and when you sit outside, sometimes you feel like you want to clench your fork a little bit because the cars are moving so fast. Since we've had this road diet as part of our Vision Zero plan, it feels safer. It feels safer to have lunch at Meddy's. It feels safer to have a drink at Michael Forbes. It feels safer to walk and shop down these shops. These are improvements that have real lasting feeling on being a pedestrian in Kansas City. So I'm excited that we're providing additional investment to increase the overall well-being of what it feels like to be a pedestrian here in Kansas City. And there's more work to be done. I also want to say thank you to our city staff behind us, who without them this isn't possible. And here to talk about more about what the city staff are doing is our city manager, Brian Platt.
Our Vision Zero goal is simple: to redesign our streets to make them safer for all road users. It's not just cars, it's pedestrians, it's cyclists, it's people who are in wheelchairs, it's strollers, it's everyone that uses our streets to make them safer and more welcoming and more inviting. It allow people the freedom to do the things that they want to do without fear of getting hit by a car. The way we do that is simple: reconfiguring the geometry of intersections, making crossings shorter for pedestrians, limiting the speed of cars in certain areas. Too many of our streets are overbuilt, too wide, too many lanes, and just allows for a lot of unwanted activity. We're doing our best to address those. As the mayor and others mentioned, we've got 300 projects completed and underway. That is a huge number, and it's just the start for us. This $4 million is going to go a long way to help us continue to improve all of our streets in every neighborhood of Kansas City. I'm mostly here to just give thanks to our team. Without them, none of this is possible. They do such an amazing job. Potentially the best public works and streets team that we've got in the country. Uday, Angie, Jason, Bobby, Bailey, Mark, Garrett, the list goes on. They're all behind me, most of them behind me. But we're so thankful for them and the work they do every day. Change is hard, but we're here for it.
We improve sewers where we need to improve sewer lines. We have law enforcement response where we need law enforcement response. But on this issue, we'll continue to do important public works improvements where we need to save lives and we need to intervene in making this a safer city.
Walk sign is on the